Yeah, I felt good about going on the road and getting the win. A very different game than the previous week. Tiffin chose to slow down the pace of the game. So it was, they ran the ball more than maybe we'd expected to, and they really tried to milk the clock. I think that they were trying to keep our offense off the field a little bit. So it was a much slower game. The tempo of the game was much slower. So I was very proud of our players to be able to adjust to a different pace of game. And then obviously we had a couple guys get injured, and we had some guys step in, and we handled that well too. So, anytime you go on the road, I get a shutout and win in a pretty convincing fashion, you're happy. I think defensively, we made some improvements. We're not there yet. You're never as good as you think you are, never as bad as you think you are. We're not as good as a shutout. We still made some mistakes on the defensive side of the ball. We're still not quite the level we're executing the way we need to execute the scheme of our defense, and also just we got to get a little bit more physical and do a better job of being physical on ball carriers, be a little bit more aggressive. So those are points of emphasis. We got to get better on defense, but our guys stepped up and they responded, coming off a subpar performance in week 2. Special teams, some things that were really good. I thought our kickoff team was very proficient, helped our defense out a ton. Our kickoff return to start the second half, that gave us great field position to get to a 4-score game, was great. We had another penalty on our punt return team. We should never have penalties in the kicking game. Those are different types of penalties, in my opinion. Those usually have to do with a lack of focus and just not being disciplined. So back-to-back weeks with penalties on our punt return team, not good. Offensively, we got off to a good start. In the second half, I didn't think we ran the ball and things weren't as clean as they need to be. But when you still look at the number of yards we're getting per play, it was very much on pace with the previous couple weeks. I mean, we averaged 7 yards per play Saturday, and the previous week we were just at 8. So we just didn't have many snaps offense. Part of the reason we didn't have a whole lot of snaps offense is because they were slowing down the game and our defense was on the field, and we were do a little bend but not break on the defensive side of the ball, and we're killing some clock. And then we had some short fields because of some special teams there, and we were able to get some quick scores too after some big chunk plays. So 50 snaps in a college football game is not a ton. If you look at it, from just looking at the score, could we have been a little bit more productive? Sure, but you got to also take it in the context that we were moving the ball and doing very well. So, I thought our players handled a really big change in venue and atmosphere and pace well. It was just vastly different from week 2 to week 3 in a lot of different areas. And I thought our team did a good job. So, in regards to, we're going to get asked in regards to the injury to Heath, as it pertains to just him, I feel bad for him because he's put in a lot of time and effort to get to this point. There's obviously a lot of snaps that he took last year in 2011, and had some times he started out a little rough, but at the end of the year was playing very well and had really carried that over and was playing good football the first couple weeks. And so there's a lot of time and effort's gone in to get him to this point, and now with the injury, won't be playing the rest of the year, but he can still have an impact on this football team, and he will have an impact on this football team because he's one of our strongest leaders. He's also very intelligent, understands what we want to do, and I know that he will be helping out our whole offense throughout the course of the week, and I know we'll be helping him out on game days too, because he'll be able to see things, from a field perspective that he sees in the games and helps guys out. So it's not like we're putting him out to pasture or something. He's going to still work, and there's going to be a lot of things that he's going to do to help us win. In regards to the team, this is why we recruit. This is why we do what we do. This is who we are. I mean, we have a quarterback. We have a contingency plan that if any player gets hurt, that we have another person that's going to play. And Isaiah Grimes is going to be our starting quarterback. Brandon Beitzel will be the second quarterback. We always travel a third, and that'll be Jeff O'Brien from Stockridge will be our third quarterback. So Isaiah stepped in nicely, did a good job, and I wish he probably could have had that throwback in which he threw the interception. But if you look at it, the rest of the day he did a good job managing the game and threw the ball well. So the disadvantage Isaiah has some talent. He just doesn't have the experience. It's a very similar situation though to last year where Heath had talent, Heath didn't have any experience. He's a sophomore starter, so we're going to have a first-time sophomore starter in there, and all these reps that he's going to get here in practice and all these reps that he's going to continue to get here moving forward for the game are going to be valuable for him and what he needs to do. So it's like anything. He has talent. He's been working hard for this opportunity. He will prepare for this opportunity. Now he's just got to go out and get the job done for everybody. So you can ask the two guys I'm flanked by. We really didn't talk about it much because it's just who we are. It's what we do. Nobody's really asking me at all about Eric Thompson not playing a single snap. We went out there with Brad Horling and Bobby Wunderlich and Dana Dixon and played well at the safety position without arguably our best defensive player ever stepping on the field. So obviously there's more attention that's drawn to it when it's your quarterback, but we've got other guys that are productive players that are not playing because of injuries, and we continue to forge ahead and go, and that's what will happen in this particular situation again. So that's kind of where we're at with that. So, questions?
I know that this Ohio Dominican team you're going to play on Saturday is very young in terms of who they have on the field, both offensively and defensively. Is there anything you've seen just from what they do on both sides of the ball that you kind of want to look at, more so going into that game?
Yeah, I mean, since I'm on defense, I'm focusing more on their offense. They're not young on the O line. I mean, they got a lot of returners on the offensive line. They do a really good job of running the ball. I mean, they kind of remind me of us a little bit in that they run a lot of zone schemes, inside zone, outside zone, and really do a good job of running the ball and trying to set up play action passes and trying to push the ball deep at times. And I think the story to Ohio Dominican season has been turnovers. And they had a big win early on. The second game, they turned the ball over 4 times, got down to Hillsdale. Then last week, they got 5 turnovers from Northern Michigan and blew them out 47-7. So they're very much about controlling the football and turnovers. So defensively, sitting here on a Monday, I don't know as much. I got to talk to my guys on offense and see kind of what they're seeing. But obviously, they held Northern Michigan to 7 points, so they must be doing a good job.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about Isaiah Grimes and the type of player that he is and how the offense will be different with him as quarterback?
Sure. There's going to be differences because he has some strengths and he has some weaknesses, just like Heath had strengths and weaknesses. I think probably the biggest thing about Isaiah and our other players here to tell you, he's confident. I mean, he's confident in his abilities. He's not going to go out there. He ain't going to go out there and be scared. I know that about Zeke. He'll go out there and Isaiah has a strong arm. He has a live arm, and he has a lot of confidence in his arm. And so there is not going to be, I don't think, a whole lot of times where Isaiah is going to be holding the ball. I mean, he likes to throw the football, and that's what he's good at. So he's 6'6", and definitely towers over some offensive linemen, and is a kind of a prototypical pocket quarterback, and can deliver the ball around a little bit. And same thing. He's been in our program now for this isn't like some freshman that's never been around. He's been a part of our environment, a part of our culture now for 3 years, and so he understands what we're trying to get done. He just, again, I have a total faith in him and his talent. He just doesn't have the experience that some of the other guys do. So, there's some things that Heath is better at than Isaiah, but I think, Heath would be the first one to tell you some things Isaiah can do too that, sometimes Heath can't do. So that's our job as coaches moving forward with our whole team, specifically our offense, our whole team is we try to play to our players' strengths, and Isaiah has some strengths, and we'll try to do a good job of managing the game and playing to his strengths. But, it's not going to be a deal where we're going to go out there and run the ball 70 times on Saturday night. Like, it's who we are is who we are, and we recruit to what our offense does, and he's gonna function within in that framework. It's just there's subtle differences in how we might tweak things based on his skill set.
Tim, we talked about it last week, the running game being such a big part of the offense when Heath was around, but now that you've got Isaiah and you don't have the flexibility of being able to do anything within the offense to the point where you could before, is it more important for you guys to be able to establish that run early and keep it going throughout a game, especially one against a team that likes to force turnovers like Ohio Dominican?
Yeah, I think it is. And then to get the running game established, definitely. And then, working off that, being able to get into some play action and some passing game stuff that, Zeke can do, great.
Matt, can you talk a little bit specifically about going into last week, there was a lot of concerns about the defense, and you held them scoreless, but didn't have as many possessions to do it. What was it, some of the adjustments that you made that you found success defensively last week?
Yeah, well, I think we did a better job as a coaching staff of eliminating pre-snap confusion. There weren't, we didn't have a lot of checks and a lot of changes that were occurring at the line of scrimmage. I think we did a good job of that as a staff. I think our kids did a really good job of, understanding the big picture of what we're trying to get done. I think we're still going through this process of guys are still trying to figure out what they need to do, and sometimes they don't always understand how they fit in with the other 10 guys that are out in the field. And we're not 100% there yet, but we got to keep teaching and we got to keep coaching and keep this process going of understanding how you fit, that you're 1/11th of the defense. At times we have some guys that want to run around and make every play and don't understand how they fit within the framework of everything. And so that's a process, that's an ongoing process. I thought we made steps in that of understanding and just a little bit about be 1/11th and kind of do your job and be in the spots you're supposed to be in, and plays will come to you instead of being frenetic and have your try to make every tackle and do those things, which was problematic and is a little bit characteristic of some guys that haven't played a ton too. They want to do too much at times. So I think that was probably the biggest. We watched probably more tape last week as a complete defense instead of splitting things up positionally in an effort to attempt to try to get our guys to understand the big picture and how they fit within the scheme when other players are out there. And so that was the improvement I think we saw in that. So like I said, we still made plenty of mistakes, and there's no, it was the message yesterday still was that we're not, the zero is the product, but the process is still not good, and so we should not be fooled by the fact that we got a shutout, the first shutout in 2 years, and the idiot statistics that people want to quote about the shutout. That's the product. The process, we know the process that needs to occur, and it was better, but it's still not there. So they got to keep striving and becoming hungry, to get that down.
Andrew, you're a senior in the captaincy. You've been around. You've seen a lot of different situations, different, things that go right and things that go wrong. As an offensive lineman and, a guy who knows a lot of the guys on that side of the ball, obviously, seeing Heath go out and Isaiah come in, where is your guys' confidence, and how are you guys as the captains kind of helping to ease him in and make this, transition from backup to now starter as easy as possible for him, in the season?
We just I actually talked to Heath last night and telling him, we still need him out there as a leader. And when Isaiah went in, it really was not a big difference for us. We've kind of had this thing where if Isaiah goes in, he goes in. And us as an offense, we just have to stay together, just be 1/11th and do your own job. We were all confident that Isaiah was going to come in and do the job that he needed to do. We just got to take care of our own thing. That's all we really have to do. If Heath's in, if Isaiah's in, if Brandon's in, we just all have to take care of our own jobs. We have the confidence that Isaiah will do that.
And last thing, Coach, Tiffin, I know you didn't expect them to come out and run as much as they did and try and control the clock, but they still ended up, having a productive day on the ground. Is that just you guys kind of not planning fully for them to take that kind of a, little bit more ground and pound approach?
Yeah, well, some of that was a conscious decision too, with a 4-score lead, not to take a bunch of chances. When you get to the point where it's 21-0 in the second quarter, the way that Tiffin was going to get back in that ball game was by giving up some chunk plays and doing that. So at the end of the day, it's still about winning ball games. And so when you look at some of the things that we're doing defensively, we did not want to take a bunch of risks and load up the box and play a bunch of man and give up a big chunk play there. So we were being a little bit, we were being conservative in our play calls too. And there were some things that we were doing, rushing 3 and dropping 8. When you rush 3 and drop 8, not going to be some good looks. They're going to be able to run the ball some. And so some of that stuff, there were some mistakes that were made sometimes by our kids, but you got to understand within the scheme of the things, we were attempting to keep the ball in front of us because I knew the only way that Tiffin was going to get back in that game was by giving up some chunk plays and us turning the ball over on offense. So the way we called the game and the way we approached the game in the second half was not with anything statistical in mind about some statistic marker regarding yards rushing, some statistic marker in terms of offensive production, some statistic marker that doesn't matter. It got to the point with a 4-score lead that we were attempting to try to, again, play good football and win the ball game. So some of those rushing yards, that's not necessarily on the kids. That has to do with the way we were calling the game.